I was lucky to be born in a democratic country.
What Trump is doing is not what America should be doing.
Does not agree with this.
Hey guys, it's Corey on the street. Today I'm in Kyiv, Ukraine, right in front of the US Embassy. And as you can see behind me, a rally just started. There's a lot of Americans here. They're quite upset with the US's recent policy shift, specifically about this UN resolution where the US decided to refuse to condemn Russia. Meanwhile, the US proposed another resolution, and this resolution doesn't acknowledge that there's a war in Ukraine. They merely classify it as a conflict. Wild. While the US resolution was ultimately adopted with amendments condemning Russia, a lot of Ukrainians feel that it portrays Russia as neutral and it fails to hold them accountable. Today we're going to figure out what's happening and hear directly from those people over there protesting. I think I'm ready. Давай!
The result of the vote is as follows. In favor, 93, against 18, abstentions 65. Draft resolution is adopted.
Unfortunately, the absence of our amendment stating that we need to eradicate the root causes of the conflict, and also after the European amendments were taken in, we ended up with yet another anti-Russian piece of paper that is distorting the truth.
Following the UN General Assembly, the Security Council gathered for another meeting. But this time, the US's neutral resolution was ultimately adopted without any amendments. Out of the 15 members, 10 voted in favor, including the US, 5 abstained, including the UK and France, and nobody voted against it. However, the amendments proposed by the European allies, calling for the explicit condemnation of Russian aggression, were removed. This left a final resolution that avoids criticism of Moscow, and this also sparked a lot of frustration here in Ukraine. To understand the public reaction, we're speaking to some of these protesters that are gathered back there.
The United States refuses to acknowledge the fact that Russia's a terrorist state, although I'm not surprised with what's going on. And it's really funny how many Trump supporters and bootlickers are all of a sudden switching sides.
Why is it important for Americans to support Ukraine?
Because let's say the Russians do take over Ukraine. After that, it's going to be Europe. And then after that, the rest of the world.
Realistically, our country had the ability to probably end this a while ago.
How do you feel about the current US government?
Not good. Very disappointed. Even when this is over, still probably like to help with rebuilding processes and things like that, and whatever level of normalcy we can give back, even though that's kind of impossible. But if Ukraine doesn't succeed, what do they think is going to happen there? The United States might be massive, but it's very easily misled. We all still need to keep fighting.
More than disappointed, I'm appalled. As an American, it's just an abomination to see us leaning into these kind of positions. I'm disillusioned. I'm concerned. I'm mainly concerned about this. Sure, there's a huge pond between Ukraine and the United States, but this is a small world. If Ukraine were to fall, or if Russia were to continue to march and move into Eastern Europe, into Poland, the Baltics, we're talking World War III. So why should the U.S. care? Because eventually this will be on our own doorstep. They truly are the shield of freedom for themselves, but more importantly for all of us.
Even if I can't make personally a big difference, if I can demonstrate that there's other people that resist what the American government is trying to do, we resist siding with the genocidal evil that is Russia, that other Americans who maybe feel the same way but are afraid to make that stand as well will find more courage when they see other people protesting it. I think the United States has really gone downhill since what I call the orange felon took office. It certainly doesn't represent what the majority of American people stand for. And I think more Americans need to stand up and make it clear to the president that this is not acceptable, that this is not America, and we don't tolerate this. we're here to fight for democracy in Ukraine, but we also need to think about fighting for democracy in America too. This isn't just a fight between Ukraine and Russia. This is a fight between democracy and despotism, between civilization and barbarism. And that's why people everywhere should support Ukraine in this fight. And I should say also, it's not fair. Ukraine is fighting Russia, standing against Russia, and the whole world is benefiting from this, but Ukraine is paying the biggest price.
Slava Ukraini.
Herom Slava.
While the US has insisted that this resolution is a step towards peace, European allies have expressed their disappointment. Many believe that omitting a condemnation of Russia equates to an alliance with Moscow. The debate over these policy changes raises a crucial question. Is the US changing its stance on Ukraine? And what does that mean for the country's future? These protests highlight a growing concern among Ukrainians that international support might be shifting toward compromise rather than justice. With the war still going on and no end in sight, the future of Ukraine will really depend on if their allies stand firm or if they waver. As the debate over this resolution continues, one thing remains clear. Ukrainians feel that neutrality is not an option when facing aggression. The voices here today reflect a country determined to fight for its sovereignty and justice. Slava Ukraini, and God bless America.